Our moderators here should just refresh yourself. There's, I understand, a traffic jam on West Terry, but we'd like to get our candidates up this way. And let me just tell you a little bit about our alliance. The Downtown Alliance is a business organization of members, business owners who are in the downtown district, also residents who live in the downtown area. We meet the fourth Tuesday of every month at typically the Shangri-La, but obviously Ian heard the Shangri-La, so we moved it here to the Lions Club, and we're gracious and grateful for Terry for working with us on here. Yeah, thank you, Terry. So we always we meet 11 months out of the year. The only month we do not meet is December, because there's a lot of holiday parties and lots of stuff going on. We do have membership information in the back if you're interested in joining the organization, or you can check our website out, which is Bonita Springs DowntownAlliance.com. And you can see everything that's going on. We're working on updating it, and it's looking really good. Membership for a business is $100 for the year, which is not anything really, not that much. And if you're an individual and like to join, it's $50 for the year. So we'd love to have you. This meeting was supposed to be in September, but unfortunately there was someone that came through called Ian who changed the dynamics for this. So we had to move it to October. And so here we are. But typically we'll have a speaker at every one of our meetings. We have a social hour where you have a cash bar and some food, a little bit of hors d'oeuvres, and an opportunity to listen to what the business owners have to say about the downtown and Bonita Springs area. And we are blessed that a lot of our council do attend these meetings. Several are here. They're not able to say anything tonight, but it's nice to see the support from the Bonita Springs city leaders that come to our meetings, and that's really important. If you're a board of director on the Alliance, could you please stand to be recognized? That could not make tonight, but we have a great board. We have 10 board of directors, and my vice president this year is Susie from Heaven Sent Flowers and Gifts. I'm sure everybody's heard from Susie. We're very grateful to have a great team, and that's really what it's all about. So tonight I'm not going to take any more time because we're here to listen to the candidates that are running in your district. That's why you're here. So I would like to bring up our moderator for this evening, which is Karen Moore. Karen's the publisher of Southwest Florida Business Today. No.
And meter time.
Yeah, and we have a timekeeper. Susie is the timekeeper, so Karen's going to run over all the rules for this evening. We do have rules for this for tonight as well. But while she's walking up, I'll just do a brief bio on her. The publisher, Karen Moore, has over 30 years of successful experience in the newspaper advertising business. She received her Bachelor's of Science degree in advertising and embarked on her award-winning advertising sales career in Chicago at the Chicago Tribune. In '93, she began her accomplished newspaper advertising sales management career in St. Louis, earning her MBA along the way. She successfully grew the newspaper advertising sales operations in St. Louis, Tampa, and in the Cape Coral, Fort Myers area, where she also facilitated the newspaper's incorporation of internet advertising in all 3 markets. She is currently publisher and owner of Southwest Florida Business Today, which she founded in 2007, and the newspaper has received local, state, and national recognition for its news, advertising, and marketing efforts. Karen is also a 3-time nominee for the Small Business Development Center's annual Distinguished Entrepreneur. So please welcome Karen Moore.
So thank you, Trish, for that kind introduction. And thank you so much for inviting me to moderate tonight's forum. I am truly honored to be here. The entire forum is scheduled for 1 hour and 45 minutes, and the clock started the minute Trish gave her welcome remarks. So in fairness to all 6 candidates who so graciously are giving of their time tonight, and to end the event on time, I will ask each question and announce the time limit for your response for each question. When our timer says time, where is our timer? Oh, good, thank you. I thought that's who Laura was back there, the timer. We will then immediately move on to the next candidate or the next question. So she'll wave up here when we're ready to go. The time is up.
Oh, I got a ding on every bell.
Oh, okay, gonna ring the bell, all right. All candidates will be asked all questions, so you are not surprised. Please know that Mr. Bloomrosen, has an unavoidable conflict this evening and will leave at 6:30.
My other event was canceled.
His other event was canceled, so now he'll be with us the entire time. That might put us a little over time because I've redone the questions 3 times to end us exactly on time. So we'll see how we do on that. So first of all, what we'll start with is the candidate self-introductions. It's 1 minute and 30.
Okay, again, good evening, everybody. Jude Richvale, been here since 1998. I believe I'm the only candidate with a published water plan in the news press, how to reduce flooding, how to reduce beach pollution, how to reduce your BSU bill by an average of $400 a year. I didn't really want to run for this to begin with, but when I asked both of my opponents if they would support my plan, they both didn't say they would. So I decided the only way to try to implement my plan was to run myself and push it. So here I am, asking for everyone's support.
Go right ahead.
Good evening, everyone, and I want to thank everyone for putting time and effort into tonight's forum, and I know we have elected officials here with us tonight, and I want to thank them for their service. Yes, I'm homegrown, born and raised here in Bonita Springs. My family planted roots here in the 1950s. They also had a family-owned business here when I was young. They raised myself and siblings here, and this is where we chose to raise our 2 sons, Luke and Max. I'm married to Tim. We've been married for 24 years, and he is with the Bonita Springs Fire Department. It's been there for 28 years now. I work for Dr. Travis Gresham, who's a private optometrist here in Bonita Springs. I've been the practice administrator with him for 15 years. And I plan to, my kids now are grown, and they are now paving their own routes here in our city. And it's time for me to take that extra time I have and put it back into the city that I love. And I plan to protect it as we grow, knowing that growth is inevitable. I want to keep that hometown feel and charm that we know we all love and enjoy here about Bonita Springs.
Okay. I'm Ron George, and I'm running for District 3. And my purpose of running is to use my energy and my experience to help my community. I have no current business or financial interest in the city, and I'm self-financing my campaign. I pride myself as a listener, and I have a great desire to help people. I have a family, a wife, Ann, who's a retired teacher. I've got a son who's a nurse, Chris, and a daughter, Caitlin, who's a officer in the Navy. She's a lieutenant commander in charge of engineering on the destroyer. I have a PhD in chemistry, and I retired after 40 years of working in the pharmaceutical industry. I've held various scientific and management positions, both with people and running projects. I am currently the honored board president of Seascape Condominiums, which has pretty much been destroyed by the hurricane, and I'm spending a lot of time. I'm really proud of my people that I'm working with in restoring that. But if you don't see me, thank you.
We'll skip Mr. Fullock, and then we'll go right to Ruth.
He did turn it off myself. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Ruth Condit. I'm running for District 3. A little bit about me. I lived in Pensacola as a child where my father, who was a career naval officer, was stationed. In 2003, I moved here with my late husband, John. I moved to Lee County and my 2 college-age sons, and restarted my small business, which is Ruth Condon Interiors, which I've operated for over 30 years, with projects in New York City, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and of course here in Lee and Collier County. I decided to run because I wanted to bring my design background into creating a beautiful and functional city that we all know and what we would all want by implementing what is already into our comprehensive plan and our vision plans. So I would like to work to do that, and that's what I'm about.
Mr. Fuller.
Thank you, and my apologies to our moderator and all of you. I really did turn it off.
I believe you.
So my name is Nigel Fullick. I'm running for District 5. South Florida has been my family's home since 1970, and Bonita Springs for almost 20 years now. I've had a interesting career. I've managed and had the opportunity to lead 2 multi-million-dollar operations successfully. I currently work for and lead our New Res, which is a public traded company here in Southwest Florida. And the reason I'm running for office is that a number of people, several in this room, encouraged me to run because I genuinely care about what happens. We've had a great plan for downtown Bonita for over 20 years. It's time that we implement it. I would say to all of you that no one is ever going to come up with a perfect plan that makes everybody happy. But it's time we move forward. It's time we had a downtown that we can all enjoy, live in, and encourage young people and families to move here and enjoy what Bonita Springs really is. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Rosen.
My name is Stephen Blumrosen.
Oh, my apologies.
I'm the only Stephen running for District 3 in Bonita Springs. S-T-E-V-E-N. I ask for your vote. My family's been here since about 2002 when my parents found our condo on Hickory Boulevard. Usually I feel attached to places where things come to me that are positive, but in this situation, our family events were my mom was killed in an auto accident on 41 in 2004, and my dad telephoned his old girlfriend from the University of Michigan, where he had met my mom at law school, and they spent 10 years together. So that was a pretty wonderful, blessing experience. But my original parents were both lawyers, as I indicated, and my dad taught at Rutgers in New Jersey.
Thank you very much. Let's move along to the next question, and that is actually our first real question of the event. Why are you interested in serving on the City Council? 1 minute each, and let's go ahead and start with Mr. George.
Okay, well, I already talked about it a little bit in my introduction. So I'm really interested in working with the City Council in ensuring the quality of life for the people in Bonita Springs. I'm not against development. I think we can do it all. We just got to be aware of what people want and what problems we have and address the problems as they appear. And so I think I can bring the energy that I have, the organizational skills, and my background, I think, is something that I can really contribute to the city.
Thank you. Go right ahead, Ms. Bogatz.
I am running. I am, like I said, born and raised here, and I love the city, and I just am truly excited about the downtown, and that we have started to get that all going, and I would love to see that we could walk from one end to the other and have restaurants and music and be able to take families down and enjoy weekends and keep our money here in Bonita Springs. I care about water quality. I know that that is a big important thing for all of us. We are avid voters, and that's important. And I feel I have worked in community service for a long time, and I'm willing to listen and to anyone that wants to talk and to take that, and whatever I can do to make Bonita Springs better, I am here to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Richvale.
I'm running because when I was chairman of the Communications Advisory Board, 2007 to 2009, I discovered that the city council, well, some people in city council did not particularly want to hear our advice. They wanted to tell us what advice we should give them. And this is an unpaid position. The reason for that was because they basically were not interested in, the people who are interested in pushing their own development positions. And that's why I'm running. There's too much emphasis here in Bonita by the city council on development and not enough emphasis on infrastructure, not enough emphasis on controlling traffic, not enough emphasis on safety and security of the people. If you look at all the city council sessions, how much time have they devoted to development? How much time have they devoted to thinking about the safety of the people from water, from flooding, from hurricanes?
Thank you very much, Mr. Richvale. Mr. Blumrosen.
Oh, you almost caught me off guard. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Need me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Why are you interested in serving on the city council?
Oh, that's an easy question. I'm interested in serving on the city council because I was asked. My friends who've known me for quite a while said, Stephen, S-T-E-V-E-N, you've been around for 10 years, very active in our organizations. We think you would be really good at this. And after thinking about it and talking with other people, I decided it's one thing I haven't really done. I've told other people how to run for office. I had a political science background. I even practiced law, which was a segmented little part of government. But I've never been on a city council. So I thought it would be a great learning experience. And believe me, so far it has been.
Thank you. Ms. Condon.
Yes, hi. Well, many of the unique landmarks and landscapes that make Bonita so charming and so unique are under pressure from development. And I'm not against development. I'm for smart development. What I'd like to see is that smart development also embracing our unique landmarks, our wild landscapes, together to build a beautiful downtown and a Bonita Beach Road, which, by the way, for 19 years has not lived up to its potential. I would like to see on Bonita Beach Road planted medians with native landscapes. I'd like to see more infill with compatible businesses going on, and reduced signage and visual litter, among other things. Also traffic calming. We'd like to look into that. So,
Thank you very much. Mr. Fuller.
Thank you. The reason I'm running for city council is I believe in two things. One is that city council position should not be a job for anyone. If you need a job, find one somewhere else. Number two is the fact that I've served in our city on a number of different boards. I've been the temporary chairman now of the Air Public Places Board for 18 years. One day they'll replace me, I'm sure. But during that time that I've been here, in being active in the community, I've developed some phenomenal relationships that I think, and I'm grateful for, with people in city, state, and county government. And I think it's an integral part of being a leader that it not be your opinion that you're supporting. It's the people, the constituents of people that you represent. And I think for the first 16 years, that pretty much was the case here in Bonita. I think we fell away from that a little bit, and personal interests have taken place. I'd like to see that change, and that's why I'm running for city council.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to start with Ms. Bogatz on the next question. What are you going to do differently than the other candidates? And it is 1 minute each.
What am I going to do differently? I hope that we can all work together, that's on council, and maybe make some decisions a little quicker. I know that there's been a lot on the table for a long time that took a long to make that final decisions, like our downtown district. I know. So I think that I can bring to the table working together, and I think that's huge to have a group that can do that and make decisions quickly so we can move on to the next great thing that we can make in Bonita Springs.
Great, thank you. I'm going to change things up here. Ms. Condit, what are you going to do differently than the other candidates?
Well, I don't know the other candidates that well to know what they're going to do. But I can tell you what, I don't know what Nigel is going to do. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do differently than the status quo. I will answer your emails. I will return your phone calls. I will treat you with courtesy and respect and listen to your issues and resolve them. If I can't, I will get back to you and tell you why. So you will have, as far as I'm concerned, I will respect you and your point of view. But that's the
Thank you. Mr. George.
Okay. I know I mentioned this earlier, but one of my biggest strengths is my willingness to listen, and I have this desire to help others. And I also have a great desire to get things done. And I notice on city council, very often it's not a cohesive body. And I believe I'm the type of person that can work with others and get resolution to issues and solve problems. And I don't think that currently that happens all that well. So that's what I think I can bring.
Thank you. Mr. Fullick.
I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about living in Bonita for the first 12 years that I was here was there was a very collegial atmosphere on city council. They worked together, they didn't necessarily agree on things, but they got things done. And it was done in a very civilized manner. It was done very openly. One of the two things that I'd like to change is I'd love to see a mentorship program. Nothing against, well, we do have a young person on the dais tonight, which is great. We don't have enough young people involved in politics in our communities. And I think that if everybody up here pledged to mentor somebody during their tenure, they would have done a good job.
Thank you. Mr. Blumrosen.
Well, I want to repeat what Ruth said. I'm not really running against anybody. If you like what I have to say, please vote for me. And I would take that pledge. I would pledge to mentor people when I'm in office.
See, we've got the Warren Buffett moment here.
Yes.
Well, you know, it makes sense to pledge what is good for the community. And I'm pleased to do that. Back where I lived another phase of my life, I spent a lot of time in Lions clubs. And so I'm very comfortable here, and I would expect to come back here often, as well as visit the other organizations in Bonita Springs. And I'd listen. So when my friends talked me into running for office, they said, Stephen, S-T-E-V-E-N, Stephen, we think you'd be great at this. And I'll have to continue this next time.
Nice note to end on. Mr. Richfield.
What would I do? I have 3 published articles in the news press as to what I would do about water, and one of them would be reducing flooding, reducing pollution. I have a published article on how to bring the city council into the 21st century, using Facebook and other internet means, how to get the people more involved in the city affairs, in public affairs. And this, despite the sunshine law, I've checked the legality, and the legality is proper. Those are some of the things I'd like to do. As I said before, a lot of the focus currently of the city council is on short-term development. And I think we need to be more proactive. We need to think about long-term issues, global warming, flooding. Those are issues we need to tackle here and tackle seriously, rather than just deal with development and sort of shove everything else under the rug.
Thank you very much. Trish, may I have a bottle of water?
It's right here. Give me some.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Where in your mind does downtown Bonita Springs begin and end? This should be an interesting question, especially for our sponsor group tonight. And I'm going to start with Mr. Fullick.
Well, practically, it would be a 6-block area on each side of West Terry Street on Old 41, but I think that where downtown really can be and should be is from Bonita Beach Road, following the Old 41 corridor, up to and including about 2 or 3 blocks north of Hawthorne.
All right, let's see what other answers we get. I'm going to ask Mr. Richvale, just because he took a sip of water right now.
I think downtown should be from Bonita Beach Road until Terry. Past Terry, we have areas that are more commercial, more industrial, but that's because of my particular vision, where I'd like to see the place turned into a more bohemian area, an area that would attract people from the whole Southwest Florida area, from Myers, from Naples, from Marco. I think that area is small enough so that people can walk there. It's large enough so you can have the kind of shops and boutiques and mom and pop stores that people would enjoy.
Thank you. Ms. Condit?
Well, the comprehensive plan says one thing, it's rather dry. But in my mind, I would say that the historic district starts at Bonita Beach Road with Entrada, a wonderful adaptive reuse, and ends at the Wonder Gardens. How about that?
Wow, we're getting a bunch of different answers. Okay. Mr. George, why don't you put your opinion in the mix?
Well, I differ quite a bit from the other candidates in this respect, because I don't think one direction, I think two-dimensional. And I believe that the space between Bonita Beach Road and, let's say, the post office is the length. But I think we also have to think about the width, right? Because downtown has a lot of properties off of the main street of Old 41. So I believe probably 6 or 8 blocks in every direction ought to be incorporated into the idea of this is what the downtown is. Because there's definitely a lot of property there that could be part of a new invigorated downtown or a continuously invigorated downtown. So I like to think two-dimensional, at least 2, maybe 3.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Blumrose?
To finish my previous thought, when I was asked to run for office by my friends, they said Stephen, S-T-E-V-E-N. And so I never ran for office before. I asked people what was important to them. And they said transportation and affordable housing and streamlining businesses applications. And that's what I would do with this. I don't know where downtown begins and ends, and I don't really think it's my place to impose my concept of downtown on the city of Bonita Springs. I believe in equality. And I believe equality means democracy and capitalism. And capitalism enables everybody to come forward who has an interest and express their views and try to get people to go along with them. And that's what I would expect to happen in determining the development of Bonita Springs while I'm in office, and the determination of where downtown is.
Perfect timing. Ms. Bogart?
I believe the district should begin there at East West Terry and extend all the way to Bonita Beach Road. Grandpa's Pizza has been there for a very long time, and I don't think that they should be left out. I think the walking district should be able to start there and end all the way. We have Ceremony Brewing with the Bohemian Restaurant. It should extend all the way to Bonita Beach Road.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gary Price, is there an official definition for downtown Bonita Springs that you're aware of?
Yeah, I think the comprehensive plan outlines what downtown is. And if you look at the physical improvements, that kind of tells you what downtown is too.
Okay. That's a good question and good answer, actually, what that area is. And I didn't do that in my research. All right. Jeez, so much for the moderator going off track. So, that being said, with your particular vision of what downtown Bonita Springs is, what specific steps will you take to grow businesses in downtown Bonita Springs? Let's take a minute and a half each, and let's start with Mr. Fulk.
Well, I think the simple fact that we've had a plan for downtown and several iterations since if as a council, we start taking that step by step and moving forward. Again, as I said before, we're not going to make everybody happy. Everybody has their own vision, but I came from Fort Lauderdale. That's where my family started in 1970. Fort Lauderdale was Bonita Springs back in the 70s. It's a concrete jungle today. They screwed it up. And that's the only polite way to say it, because what's been done there, the disregard for infrastructure, the sewage system. One of the things we should be really proud of in downtown right now is 2 days after the storm, did anybody see any floodwaters in downtown? We wasted all that money on the drainage system. No, we didn't. We're making the right moves in Bonita. We're taking not necessarily baby steps, we're making strides. We really are, but I think in going forward that we need to start implementing those steps, taking the plan and moving forward. Just because we don't agree with it, we should take the personal out of it and put what the majority would like to see. In walking my district, I will tell you that a number of people told me they were really surprised that we had not started forward with the downtown redevelopment. They had no idea it was still on hold. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bogat.
I have found with this that people either really love or they do not love what you have to say about the downtown district. I am in huge favor. I think bringing in Baron Collier is making it desirable. It's making, once they get this going, it's making business owners want to come to the downtown district. Right now it's not, and I think they have taken the right steps. They're going to make this a desirable area for business owners to come in. We're going to have local businesses and shops where we can be proud of this downtown district and make it a destination on that. And I think it's real important that we proceed and continue this.
Thank you. Mr. Blumrosen.
That's Stephen, S-T-E-V-E. There are lots of cities now that have experience in developing riverfronts. And so I would probably encourage the city council members to go along with me in having a request for production and putting it out there and letting companies compete with plans on how to develop downtown Bonita Springs. And once we get a plan, then we would open it up to individuals to come in and start whatever businesses and other opportunities that they envision for our city. Once again, Stephen, S-T-E-V-E-N.
Is he going to say that every time, do you think? I think so. I think that's part of his branding. Mr. Richvale.
I think if we follow the Baron Collier plan, we're going to see a lot of brand name stores, a lot of national establishments, and not a lot of mom and pop stores, not a lot of local entrepreneurs. And I'd like to see local entrepreneurs, local industries. And I think the main problem up to now has been that there really hasn't been a vision. There's been come what may, sort of, let's take this development because it looks good. If there is a vision and we act on it and we plan according to the vision, we can accomplish great things. It may take some time, it may take some planning, but we can do it.
Thank you. Mr. George.
Sure. So I don't know how many of you spend much time in downtown Bonita Springs over the holidays, but I'll have to say that taking a trip downtown during the holidays, seeing the holiday lights, etc., was really quite a good experience for me. It showed a real good side of downtown. Unfortunately, that's only one part of the year. And so I think there definitely is some good things happening, and the critical mass of downtown is going to be improved by the food truck court, the Imperial Crossing project. All that's good. Some people might not like the architecture, etc. But I really believe that one of the things that downtown needs to do is start trying to improve the complete downtown area, not just the old 41 Street area. And so if I had advice for downtown, I would say, let's see what we could do to just make the whole area more desirable. There's plenty of parking downtown if you're willing to walk. And people obviously don't want to walk because maybe they don't like where they're walking through, et cetera. So I really think downtown's got a tremendous potential. It's just a matter of putting the right resources in it, in going after the right type of development and cleaning up of what we already have.
Thank you. Ms. Condon?
Yes. Well, the young, vibrant ventures and businesses run by young entrepreneurs do exist in Bonita, but they're not in the downtown. I have walked almost the entire length of Bonita Beach Road introducing myself to all the businesses, and I was stunned and astounded to see the number of wonderful young people who have started up businesses along some of these little strip malls. I never knew they existed. You probably don't know they exist unless you go walking, store by store. They're kind of difficult to get to. And I thought to myself, they belong in the downtown. Why aren't they there? They're just what the downtown needs. Particularly empty mosaic. These stores there are sitting empty. Why? I'd like to know. If I get on council, when I get on council, I'd like to investigate why. Many of these young people said they're not downtown because the rents are too high. Also, I think another thing that we could do to encourage businesses is to streamline our permitting processes. Particularly make them a little easier, less cumbersome, less time consuming, because this burdens the young business person. It costs them a lot of money, which they don't have. So that's my prescription.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to follow that question up with the next one because a couple of you mentioned in terms of growing business in downtown Bonita Springs in regards to Baron Collier. Baron Collier was approved 7-0 at last week's city council meeting to lease the bamboo property. They presented 3 plans. Which, if any of these plans, do you support and why or why not? And yes, I'm giving you each 2 minutes this time. So let's start with Ms. Condon.
To be very honest, I didn't study each of the 3 plans to see their differences or which I like. What really stunned me was, actually I liked the original concept that they presented to the public last October. It was very attractive and had an old Florida feel. What stunned me, and I guess derailed me from looking at the 3 different plans that we could have, was the fact that it was nowhere near what was originally presented. I'm all for this development. We do need people living down there. But the architecture that's presented, I know that this is not set in stone, and that as Councilman Corey said, there's a long way to go and a lot of negotiation. But the current buildings, as they're presented in the renderings, bear no resemblance whatsoever or compatibility with the existing architecture that is along 41. So I'd like to work with them. I don't have a favorite plan because I'm disturbed by the aesthetics at the moment, and they're rather tall buildings, tallish buildings, rectangular, and they don't look inviting right now. But I'm sure they can be made to be.
Thank you. Mr. Richvale.
The only rendering I've seen of the Baron Collier is the 4th-story apartment buildings, which frankly look ugly, don't fit, and I really don't want to see downtown become a pale imitation of 5th Avenue in Naples. 5th Avenue, I think, is bad enough that it's become primarily a tourist trap with high-priced restaurants, stuff like that. I'd like to see more unique establishments, more boutiques, more bohemian establishments. I'd like to see something that would attract people because it's the anti-mall, things you can't find in a mall. Things that will attract people from the whole Southwest Florida area to come and visit and hang out and explore. Because there's always something new there and different that they haven't seen before. That's what I like.
Thank you. Ms. Bogatz.
That's a very good question, and I do have to say that I am just aware of the one plan as of now, and I do agree with it, with the 4 stories and it being rental property. You're not having to overturn if people are able to own it, where they have Airbnbs and such, where we have people that care about where they live. And we're not going to make everybody happy with what the aesthetics is going to be. I think that, you know, as a whole, we all work together and we can, you know, make something happy for, you know, a majority of people. I agree that we should have, it should be local businesses, and that we walk that and have different places to go to that you don't see on, in every city or around every corner. And I think that's what's going to set the difference from making Bonita Springs the destination that we all want it to be.
Thank you. Mr. Fullick.
Thank you. One of the things, and I'm not chiding anyone here, but this has been going on for about a year and 8 months. We've had numerous workshops. People have had the opportunity to come and give feedback to Baron Collier. And they've taken that feedback and they've come back with different proposals. I think what's critically important is the fact that currently what they've put on the plate is what council and citizens who've been involved have said they want. There are a number of, I don't care if they're young or middle-aged or old, there are a number of people who've invested in downtown. They're local residents, and they can't wait for downtown to get started. And once downtown does start, Baron Collier is still, and they've said at every meeting, we're willing to listen. Here's what we asked. We asked to change what we had before, which was have a viable company that if they had to could financially complete the project themselves, that had a history of similar projects, and preferably were local. Now, just because Baron Collier from Collier County doesn't make them bad people, they fit the bill. We had nothing in Bonita or Lee County that stepped up to the plate to do that. I think that their willingness to work with us, I think, extremely important. We talk about affordable housing for young people. The fact that somebody, I think Jamie mentioned it, the fact that there's not going to be short-term rentals, people aren't going to be able to use to line their pockets. We're going to have 120 units for young people to come and live in the community that they work in. I think that's exciting.
Thank you. Mr. Blumrosen.
Well, as I told City Council the other day before they took their vote, their history. We're the future. And fortunately, the plans that have been floated so far have been adapted as we went along. And one of the changes I would make to Bonita Springs is I would have more districts. Because there are an awful lot of very smart, competent, experienced people sitting up here. And I think we can benefit from the input from all of us. And that is that's the process that I see happening. Because Stephen, S-T-E-V-E-N, should not be making the decisions for all of Bonita Springs. We should have lots of input, as it has been happening as we've been working on what we want for downtown. And so I am excited and thrilled to participate with all the people here in trying to figure out how to best attract people to downtown, to invest, to start businesses, to create jobs, to have a whole lot of different kinds of activities going on that I, Stephen, may not be able to anticipate yet. But in this process, I hope to help develop a downtown which is inviting and which is supportive. Thank you.
Mr. George.
Sure. I really think it's a good idea to get this development underway of the Imperial Crossings. Is it everything I'd hoped for? Is it everything anybody hoped for? Probably not. You know, I had envisioned a little more grandeur and more public space, etc. But you know, basically you have to understand the finances, right? It's an unproven market. They're going to invest a lot of money in the area, and so you can't expect them to not try to at least make a reasonable profit on the development. I do know that I spoke against the contract because there were aspects of it that I didn't like. And one point in particular, and I brought this up at City Council, was the fact that the public area was going to be controlled by Collier, Baron Collier. And I didn't think that was fair because the public was going to be paying for it. Well, they did in this last final proposal agree to let the city control that area. So I was happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. The next question is, has 3 parts to it. So you're each going to get a minute, 30 seconds to answer the questions. Do you feel the city should financially or otherwise support the Bonita Springs Downtown Alliance, who brought us here tonight? Why or why not? And if so, in what ways? Let's go ahead and start with, what have I started with in a while? We'll start with Mr. Foley.
Because I was taking notes and cheating. I'm not sure that you said it was a 3-part question, but the question is...
Do you feel the city should financially or otherwise support the Bonita Springs Downtown Alliance? Why or why not? And if so, in what ways? So you're right, it's 2 parts or 3 parts, depending on how you answer.
Thank you. Simply, yes, within reason. There are certain things that the Downtown Business Alliance does that's very, very important to the city. So I think some of the events that they put on, it would be reasonable for the city if it's in everyone's best interest. However, the Downtown Business Alliance, for the most part, should support itself.
Thank you very much. Ms. Condit.
Well, it never occurred to me that the city should support, financially support the Downtown Alliance because they're doing quite well. However, on special occasions, if money is needed, absolutely. But I think it should be self-supporting, and why shouldn't it be? There's so many successful business people who are members and big supporters, and it's a vibrant association that stands on its own feet very well, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Blumrosen.
Well, since we're all here because of the Downtown Alliance, I'm tempted to just say yes. But as Ruth just pointed out, the Downtown Business Alliance is a bunch of businessmen. Capitalism, I talked about that before. These are people who have figured out how to make it on their own and are contributing to our city individually. And they've come together and they're supporting downtown. They're supporting us. I mean, they're making downtown happen. And so we should listen to what they have to say about what they think their needs are. And we should consider as a city how to accommodate them.
Thank you. Mr. George.
I don't think that the city ought to blank check support the Downtown Alliance, but I do think the city ought to help nurture the Downtown Alliance. And I know the city does sponsor a lot of events in the area, and I think anything the city can do in that respect that helps the community and helps the Downtown Alliance is a real win-win. If there was any one specific item that the Downtown Alliance would like, such as maybe a change in some traffic flow or road structure, et cetera, then I think the city ought to consider that, but not a blank check to just support the Downtown Alliance. Thank you.
Ms. Bogats.
I think the Downtown Alliance, since I've been attending the meetings, it's an amazing group and great to be a part of. Do I feel like the city should solely support them? No, I think they do a great job. Do I feel like the city needs to take part and be a part of the organization? Absolutely. I think a lot of functions that are put on by the city, the Downtown Alliance could be part of, and it could even be bigger and better going both ways. So, no, it's a great group, and we all wouldn't be here tonight without them.
That is true. You got that one right. Mr. Ridgevale.
I think the Downtown Alliance represents what is. The city should focus on the future and represent what could be. I don't think the city should not give any support to Downtown Alliance, but they should support lots of organizations here. The Fruit Club, the the men's club, the arts club, they could support these organizations by giving them a forum, for example, on BTV 98, other areas where they could facilitate these organizations and bring people together by supporting these organizations in a public way and letting them communicate with the whole city.
Thank you very much. Okay, as Trish mentioned earlier, there was a reason we weren't here a month ago, like we were supposed to be. It was this visit from Hurricane Ian. And I wanted to ask next, everybody's opinion on the podium here. How has the city handled Hurricane Ian and the recovery? What are your recommendations for improvement? And how would you implement them? That would be 2 minutes each. And I'm going to start with Ms. Bogart.
Well, I've never experienced anything like this before, and it was truly devastating. There's so many people that I know personally have been affected, from close family friends to people that we knew a long time ago, to my son where he works, to both of my sons where they work. So it's been affected, and it's affected so many people. I think the city so far has done a fairly good job. More communication maybe out there that could have been brought to all of us. That might be able to be improved some. Businesses that want to rebuild, I say they know the risk. Let them rebuild. Let's get this going and Bonita Springs back and running again. We need our beaches and our restaurants and our local businesses back open. That's what we all thrive from here in Bonita Springs. And I know everybody from the busy months where we dread about the traffic and everything, but that is what brings Bonita Springs, the money in that we need. And I feel like it's important to let everyone get running and going again. If they can do it, they know the risk, and let's get going.
Thank you. Mr. Blumrosen.
I didn't learn about this in political science. It strikes very close to home for me personally. I live on Hickory Boulevard, which is by the water. The continuation of Bonita Beach, you get to docks and then you go along the water. That's where I am. The area behind the police checkpoint that was there until recently. So I had to walk in 2 miles to my condo and come back 2 miles. Except that they're incredibly compassionate people who work for the Lee County Sheriff and the Pasco County Sheriff and the Hollywood Police and Red Cross and the Salvation Army. And they gave me rides, and they gave me food, and they gave me conversation, and they made the whole thing much better than it might have been. How the city did, I need a bigger perspective than I can give this now. But I learned a lot about how the cities, especially Bonita Springs, respond to disasters. I mean, hurricanes are predictable. We know there's one coming. It's just unpredictable as to when it will arrive and what it will be like. And I was here during Charlie, and the aftermath was totally different than the aftermath of this one. But Bonita Springs is government light. And government light means that we don't do a whole lot, but we make things happen. We're a system of subcontractors. And so one of the things I learned recently is that there's a company called Crowder Golf, which is prepared to go anywhere to deal with these kinds of disasters. And we contract with them, and they were here the day after, and they pushed the debris out of the roads, and we could continue on with the things that we needed to do. And I'm just really grateful.
Thank you. Ms. Condon.
From my perspective, we did not, unlike you, Steve, suffer a whole, I live in Spanish Wells, a whole lot of devastation. Mostly it was landscape. So from my perspective, it's hard to know particularly what the city did. They seem to be doing a very good job. but also along with a number of agencies that were having Florida Power and Light, PSU, the water company, all the contractors that came down from other states, the fire, particularly the police, did a fabulous job about preventing looting on Avery Boulevard and in some of our devastated areas along the Imperial River. So I think all in all, the response was just very good, considering, again, that they're government light. And I would not know to do anything different. That was very good.
Very good, thank you. Mr. George?
Okay, well, as a semi-homeless person who lives out on the end of Hickory Island, I will say, and I'm the president of a very large condominium complex, 136 units. So I have to say, from Thursday and Friday, when I was having first responders help my wife and I extract people out of our buildings because they wouldn't leave, they didn't want to leave, their relatives are calling saying, you know, please help encourage these people to leave. They were great. And every aspect from that time on has been great. I spoke to the last city council meeting to give my thanks. We're in the process now of rebuilding. I've got a good team, we've got organization, we've got teamwork, and we're all dedicated. But I will say the city has never been a barrier to anything we're doing to try and get back up and running. So I'm very happy with everything that I've seen today. Thank you all.
Thank you for your response. Mr. Fuller?
Thank you. This is my third hurricane in Bonita, and one of the things that I've seen after each one is this city gets better. But what was really critical during Hurricane Ian is the amount of leadership that was shown. What a lot of people don't realize, and she's a very humble person, she's not here tonight, Arlene Hunter, our city manager. The morning after the storm, she was out there directing the troops, working with everyone. I've heard from everyone from the Sheriff's Department to BSU. They'll tell you the same thing. The communication, the coordination was exceptional. We got it right in Bonita. The fact that people said they didn't have any communications, well, we had no internet for several days. That's not City Hall's fault. They coordinated. There were 2 temporary cell towers. I don't know how that works. I am not an IT guy, but I will tell you that the amount of coordination that was done was exceptional. We should be very proud of our city. Sheriff Marcino, he got some complaints from people who said there were cars racing up and down Hickory Boulevard, and they were black cars. And we know Sheriff's Department doesn't have black cars. Well, they were from Pasco County, from Hollywood Police Department, because that had all been coordinated in advance. That's why we didn't have any problems there. Bonita Springs Utilities, they get badmouthed all the time. I will tell you what, only city in the 2 counties didn't have a boiled water ordinance. The only city where even the guy that runs it was out there working to make sure they could get pumping stations back up because some of the circuit boards got fried. They did a great job. And again, that's not recognized. And then Bonita Springs Assistance Office, if you don't know them, just a phenomenal group. Terry LeMaine, force of nature. She was feeding hundreds of families every day. I was there several times. I know Jamie was there volunteering. Fire department was there on their time off, doing a phenomenal job. So how do I think our city did? On a scale of 1 to 10, they get a 9.5.
I agree.
Thank you, Ms. Timekeeper. Mr. Richvale?
I think Bonita, on the whole, did a great job after the hurricane. The problem, I think, is that they were not proactive enough before the hurricane. I presented a water plan to them in January that could have significantly reduced the flooding in Bonita, in District 5, in my district. It could not have saved the beach. Nothing, I think, could have saved the beach. But they need to be more proactive and listen to people who have reasonable plans, study them, and implement them. And they should spend more time on that and focus on that and less on overdevelopment.
Thank you very much. Next question. When planning the future of downtown Bonita Springs with an increased population in the area, as well as increased traffic on 41, explain why you feel Old 41 should either serve as a bypass for traffic on 41, i.e. for truck traffic, or number 2, as a walkable neighborhood with pedestrian walks, i.e. no large truck traffic. So share your viewpoint and why you support it. 2 minutes each. I'm going to start with Mr. George.
Okay, well, I've got a strong opinion that big trucks don't belong on Old 41 in downtown. I think I hear it talked about all the time. To me, it would be very simple. You've got a lot of traffic, and the traffic isn't there every minute of the day. It depends on the time of day. But unless it's actually making a delivery, there's no reason that I see we should have through trucks going through the downtown area. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Ms. Condit.
No trucks. You have trucks, you have no downtown. The Old 41 is not intended to be a speedway or a fast way to deliver goods. It should be, I know this will be unpopular, but a slower way of getting from A to B. And the traffic is it's usually during rush hour that it's a bit congested and difficult. But during the day, it should be like any other normal downtown in any city. They're not throughways. You go at a 30 or 40 mile an hour speed, and the downtown is to be enjoyed. So it has to be walkable and bikeable, and if you've got trucks going down there, it can be neither.
Thank you. Mr. Ridgevale.
I agree with the last statement about the trucks, and I think if there are going to be trucks, we need to be proactive and think about the infrastructure. The bottleneck right now on Old 41 is the river. So if we want to develop downtown, we first need another bridge over the river, maybe a few blocks away, parallel to Old 41, and maybe that street could handle the trucks that would be needed for the businesses. But trucks on Old 41, no.
Okay. Mr. Folk.
That remark took me off guard there. I don't believe there should be a second bridge going over Old 41. What I do believe right now is that historically, Old 41 has been nothing more than a shortcut. And if we develop a downtown, the downtown becomes a destination. If it's a destination, the traffic problem resolves itself. Do I think we should allow construction trucks there from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.? Absolutely not. But if we develop the downtown the way that we want to, then we get rid of that issue. But I don't think the solution is to build another bridge on Old 41.
Thank you. Mr. Blumrosen.
While we're on the subject of bridges, one of the things that I think Bonita Springs could excel at is innovation. And how come we're so dependent on cars and bridges? We're mainland and we're islands. There's ancient technology called ferry boats, and there's modern technology called solar. And I think probably there's some very smart people that we can get together and figure out how to have solar ferry boats in addition to bridges and cars. But that's not really responsive to the question. As you may recall, back when I got into this, I had friends who said, "Hey, Steven," S-T-V-E-N, "you'd be good at this." And so I talked to people and they said transportation is a major issue. And the big issue amongst those people were dump trucks. They didn't want dump trucks on their streets. So I think that if we could have a basically truck-free area, that would be a really good thing, because generally motor vehicles and people don't mix all that well. And we're trying to get a downtown that's accommodating to people more than anything else.
Thank you. Ms. Bogatz.
I definitely think that the trucks should be rerouted. If you've ever sat downtown, at downtown coffee perhaps, I've sat there on a few occasions just trying to have conversation, and the big trucks go by and you can't hear the person sitting next to you. You can't continue your conversation. You have to stop and wait for them to pass you. I think it definitely should be rerouted, and I know when I go to downtowns out of our area, you don't see the cement trucks, the big trucks going through while you're walking the strip of their downtown district, and I don't think ours should be that way either.
Thank you, everyone. Next question. What will you do to ensure that the downtown area is safe for residents and visitors? You get a minute 30 each, and I'm going to start with Mr. Richvale.
Well, we're paying 15 extra policemen, we're paying the county for that, so I would post a few walking cops down the area to keep it safe. Have a patrol car, go by on a regular basis. I think that's pretty much what you need to do.
Ms. Condit.
Could you repeat the question?
Absolutely. What will you do to ensure that the downtown area is safe for residents and visitors?
Wasn't aware that it was unsafe, particularly, well, there have been some incidents, but I think that we have such a fabulous police department. I don't feel it's particularly unsafe, but of course I don't live down there. I have heard things that go on during the evening though. I think presently our community policing is doing a fine job, and what they can't do, Sheriff Marcino will take care of. And I think that if we get rid, as far as pedestrian safety is concerned, that does concern me. It's hard to cross that street sometimes when there's heavy traffic. I think if we get the trucks off the road and find alternative routes for them, that will go a long way towards making it a safer place to bike and walk. Right now, I wouldn't want to bike there. I don't particularly find those narrow roads safe for biking.
Thank you. Mr. Richfield. Oh, I'm sorry. I got your answer. I apologize. Mr. Fullock.
I have a 15-year former career in law enforcement, and over the last few years I had a relationship with Sheriff Scott, and I think I have an excellent relationship with Sheriff Marcino. When I decided to take this plunge, one of the things I did was sit down with the sheriff for almost an hour and 15 minutes in his office, and we talked about what we could do together. He was extremely open to it. Many of you may remember, once upon a time we had a substation in downtown Bonita. The building is still there, but it's pretty much used for storage. The sheriff told me flat out, he's very open to returning a substation to Bonita. That would be a big part of deterrence, and that's a big part of law enforcement. Secondly, and I'm going to touch on this, a lot of people said they want, Susie, I'm going to see if you smile or not, they want things to go back to the way they were on Old 41. Do you want things to go back to the way they were on Old 41, Susie? I don't. I don't want to see shootings. I don't want to see prostitutes. I don't want to see drug dealers. It was charming during the daytime to take pictures. You didn't go down there at night, and even now it's a little dicey. But I think that if we get our sheriff's department involved, if we communicate with them and come up with a plan, it's always great to have, I want, how do we pay for it, and how do we accomplish it? We have a sheriff that wants to work with us. I'm willing to work with him.
Thank you. Mr. Blumrosen.
I learned about government life by listening to Arlene and Matt, the city manager and assistant city manager. And they explained their relationship with the various jurisdictions that also cover where we live and where we work. And one of the things that they emphasized as working really well is how they get along with the county sheriff. And so I'm not particularly worried about safety in terms of policing. We're going to get a couple of more officers here, and the future will take care of itself in terms of that kind of security. But I think what will really make Bonita Springs downtown stand out, and it will provide a lot more safety for individuals who go to the establishments that are going to be coming into downtown, will be people. Will be a 24-hour downtown. Will be a place that doesn't get dark and scary. It will be a place where there's life and activities around the clock. Like, hey, I'm kind of thinking about maybe this would be a cool place to have a 24-hour coffee shop. Like, anybody want to invest in that? Thank you.
Ms. Bogats.
I think our police department does do a great job. I think Sheriff Carmine does an amazing job also. I also do agree and remember when there was a substation in downtown. And I do feel like the communication is open and we talk with the Sheriff Department and reopen that, even if we just have a couple cop cars and sheriffs there where they know the presence is there and to keep the community safe.
And Mr. George.
Okay, I look at this slightly different than I think most of the other candidates. What I like to see, first of all, is let's clean it up. Code enforcement, get rid of some of the junk cars, the trash, etc. from downtown, okay? Clean it up, what's going to happen? People are going to enjoy it more, okay? Once we have these new developments, we get our critical mass, I believe it's going to be a much safer place once you get some development going and get rid of the trash. And there's no reason today that code enforcement can't start enforcing the codes and getting rid of some of this trash, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't happen. So that would be my suggestion. As far as the police department, I think generally they do a really good job. The only thing I have to worry about is they seem like, because they're being borrowed, that we don't always have the coverage we want all the time. When we need it, we get it. If you have an accident, you have 5 cop or police cars, sheriff's cars there. But a lot of times they're elsewhere. And so I would like to see maybe a better distribution of their time. But other than that, they do a great job, don't get me wrong.
Thank you very much. We're running ahead of schedule, Trish, so that's a good thing. I have plenty of questions to keep asking. All right, I'm going to continue. We still had a few more on the agenda. And Trish is a slave driver, so she's saying continue with the question.
Maybe one more question.
One more question? Okay. I had a whole list of another 10. I could have kept them up here. Come on. No, we're good. We're good. Then, yeah, one question. Okay, I've only got one. I think the most important one I want to ask here. How do you think the city can balance the efforts to save and promote the rich history of Bonita Springs while meeting the desire to facilitate downtown redevelopment? Think about this, what your thoughts are on that. It's been a topic that's come up in many of our other questions. So this is the direct question on how do you think this balance can be achieved? What do you think the challenges of trying to achieve that balance are? You'll each get 1 minute and 30 seconds, and I'll repeat the question one more time. How do you think the city can balance the efforts to save and promote the rich history of Bonita Springs while meeting the desire to facilitate downtown redevelopment? I'm going to start with Mr. George.
Good. So I think the first thing the city has to do, and I know they have committees, historical preservation, etc. And what I would like to do is see a list established and a priority list out there that says these are the things we really want to continue to ensure for the future, and not get to these points like with, I'll take the Everglades restaurant, Wonder Gardens restaurant, where we get to a point where all of a sudden everybody says, well, we want to save it, we want to save it, we want to save it, but then it gets stalled. Same thing happened right with the Bamboo Village area. Everybody wanted to do something, but it just gets stalled. So I think what has to happen is there needs to be a list of priorities that everybody agrees on, that these things have to remain or be enhanced, etc. And then beyond that, I think, getting back to a comprehensive plan, any new development ought to fit into that. So I think, and I know everybody wants to do the right thing, and I'd want to do the right thing, but I'd like to see action. I don't like to see things said. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Blumrosen.
How do we combine history with development? Is that the question?
That is the question, specifically downtown.
I guess if we had a good answer to that, we wouldn't be here. It's a very complicated situation because there's so many different interests involved, and the city council would have to help people weigh those interests and find a balance. I think, I'm an historian, amongst a lot of other things. I have my name on a history book, and I'm working on another one. I believe in history, I believe in its value, I believe that there are lessons to be learned from the past so we don't repeat them. And I also believe in, as I said, equality, capitalism, and democracy. And we shouldn't stifle people's individual competitive spirit and their need to contribute to the community the way they feel is best. And so I think that the city council should be encouraging both of those. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Condon.
Well, the way, first of all, preservation and smart growth are not mutually exclusive or incompatible. And the way forward is already in our comprehensive plan. In the comprehensive plan, the city is tasked with protecting and preserving their historic structures. And if you keep tearing down 75-year-old buildings, you won't have any 100-year-old buildings. So you have to commit to the preservation, and that does not stop growth. You can infill around it. And I hate to say, up north they do things this way, but I must use this as a stunning example. If any of you have been to Brooklyn, the Dumbo district, it is stunning. You are looking at the beautifully preserved 19th century streetscape with cobblestone streets, old warehouses. And soaring above are the most magnificent skyscrapers that you ever want to see. And it's all very beautiful, very human, and very livable. We can do that too.
Thank you.
And it's not a problem.
Mr. Fuller.
Again, I look at the history of Bonita Springs, and actually there's several people in this room that were part of forming this city. Our original city manager is sitting back there, quiet as he always is, taking things in. He'll deal with everybody later. But there was a vision for Bonita. It was not to be Naples. It wasn't to be Fort Myers. With all due respect, it wasn't to be Brooklyn. It was to be a town, the town of Bonita Springs, to take advantage of this amazing river that we have, the people that we have here. They had it right. And along the way, we've just kind of stumbled. We've put things off. I think as a businessman, I see sometimes people putting their personal self-interest ahead of what's better for everyone. And if we look at what the history of Bonita is, it was a small town. It can be a better small town. It can be what we want it to be. When I came here, I think we had about 35,000 residents. We're approaching 60,000 now, but we can still keep that concept. And I think part of that is doing what we're doing right now. We're growing, but we don't need to grow this way. We need to kind of grow sensibly this way.
Thank you. Mr. Richfield.
I think we need to have first a coherent vision that people agree with. It's very easy to object to things. A lot of people object to, let's say, the Baron Collier thing. I've seen that on social media. But no one, until I have come up with an actual plan, not a plan, a vision that people can agree on. I posted my vision on social media, and I've gotten tremendous response to it. People like it. Once you have a vision, you can actually have a coherent plan and act on it. The problem all along has been that we had no vision, and therefore we really didn't have a plan. And that's what needs to happen. We all need to agree on some vision and then implement a plan that will keep the city and its character intact. The Baron Collier proposal does not fit with the city, does not fit with the history. It's just wrong for the city.
Thank you, Mr. Richfield. And last but not least for the evening, Ms. Bogat.
You know, I got to watch this small town turn into a thriving city, and I also think that, yes, there needs to be some check and balances, and we have committees. We have the Downtown Alliance, we have our city council. We all need to work as a group, work together, you know, live by our small town charm, big future, and if we all do that, I really think we could come up with an amazing plan that makes our district a destination, a place that everyone of all ages wants to go to, and the future. My grandchildren want to visit, my children. So I just think that if everyone could, you know, work together, you're going to have differences, but I think if there's lots of different ideas, I'm willing to listen and bring ideas to the table. But I think that we do have committees in our council and the alliance all that could, you know, come up and work together.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the candidates tonight. You did very well, considering there was no real prep ahead of time. They didn't get to see scripts in advance, so I think they all did extremely well. And Trish is going to close with some additional comments and about a few things coming up. So I'm going to exit. Credit cards, we found credit cards on the floor.
On behalf of the Downtown Business Alliance, I'd like to present, first of all, thank Karen and present you with some bouquet of roses and flowers from our group. Thank you. We hope that this was helpful for some of you who have not voted yet or who are going to vote. At least you'll have some opportunity to listen. You had the opportunity to listen to the candidates up here. It is a hard job. I'm sure for, you know, it's easy to say it's, you know, you can say this or say that, but it is a hard job to be a council person. And I do want to say thank you to the council that did, you know, come in here this evening and come to our meetings. And I also want to say thank you to State Representative Adam Botana, who's here this evening. So we want to thank you for popping in as well and listening. And to our members. I mean, we have some great business owners, and there are a lot of young entrepreneurs who are opening up business. And Zach, raise your hand. Ceremony Brewing, right there in the back. He hasn't named a beer after me yet, but I'm sure. No, really, thank you. On behalf of our alliance, we hope that you have a good evening. Be careful out on the roads, and make sure you vote November 8th. Thank you.